Alright, so now we're going to talk about the sidewall strings. Sidewall strings are the most important part of stringing a stick. It's going to create your pocket. Number one rule of stringing sidewalls is always string them as tight as possible. You don't want to have a lot of slack in your sidewall, because if you do, the mesh won't stretch out. Okay, your sidewalls are going to give when you catch the ball, and in breaking in a stick, you want to have your mesh stretch, not the sidewall string. So we're going to string it as tight as possible. In your kit, you should have 2 sidewall strings. They're about 24 inches long each. They're thin string, so make sure you don't get them confused with the top string, which is a thicker string. So we're going to start with these, and we're going to do one at a time, and we're just going to create our pocket by stringing these sidewalls. Alright, so we have our sidewall string here. Same thing with the top string. We're going to start with making a knot. So make a little loop in the string, you loop it back over itself, put it through the hole you've created, okay, and pull it tight. Alright, sort of up to you how much string you want to have on the outside of the knot. That's what's going to hang off your stick. Sort of make it look cool. Maybe you might want a longer piece, you might want a shorter piece, but that's up to you. Now, we're going to look at our sidewall, okay? We're going to start here as close to the top as you can. We want to force the mesh to be tight at the top so the ball does not hit the top of the plastic. Okay, so I'm going to go through the sidewall, through the front of the mesh, and pull it down tight. Now I'm going to skip a hole in the sidewall, keeping it tight, coming through the outside, tightening it by pulling the string up after I get it through, and now I'm on the top side. Now see, I've created this little lock here so the string won't move. It's locked in place. Now I'm going to get my next hole of mesh and bring the string down through this hole. I'm going to skip another hole in the sidewall, come through the outside of the plastic, back up, pulling it tight. I'm going to come to the back of the mesh, put the string down through the mesh, pull it tight. Now, depending on which head you're using, you'll have to skip some holes or where you want the pocket. So now this is going to be the last time I'm going to tighten the mesh here. With the next hole, I'm not going to skip a hole this time. I'll pull it tight, come down through the mesh, and pull it tight. Now you see how this is sort of creating a tight area in the mesh up here. Okay, this is going to force the ball to come out of your stick. The sidewalls will determine how the ball comes out of your stick, even more so than the shooting strings. So with this being tight, I sort of like a pocket in the middle of my stick. So now, without going through the plastic again, I'm going to come back around to the top of the mesh and go through another hole here before I put the string back through the sidewall. And notice how I'm skipping another hole in the sidewall here, coming through the outside and locking it in. And come back to the mesh, come through a hole, pulling it tight. I'm going to skip a hole in the sidewall, come through the sidewall, pull it tight. Now I'm ready to move on. So from here I'm just going to go back through the mesh again. Skip a hole in the sidewall. Pull it tight. Okay, notice how these sidewalls don't move. I can pull in this mesh, but the sidewall string doesn't move with it. Okay. Now from here, as an attackman, I like to have a little bit of a pocket down low as well. So I'm going to go through 2 holes of mesh again. So I'm going to start by going down through the first hole, pull my string through and tight, coming around to the back of the mesh again, going through another hole of mesh, pull it tight, I'm going to skip a hole in the sidewall, come through the outside of the sidewall, pulling it tight, like so. Now as I get to the bottom of the stick, I'll go through one more hole of mesh, come down through the last hole in the sidewall, tighten it up. Now all I have to do is take this string down through the bottom of the head, pulling it tight, making a knot, hold it in place, and cinch it tight. Now I have one sidewall done. You see how it's very tight? Sidewalls don't move, the mesh is going to be forced to stretch and create a nice pocket for you. So from there you just want to mirror what you've done on this side on the other side of the head. There we go.